Welcome to the Roost Podcast, brought to you by Buckeye Bowhunter. And now, your host, Josh Grund.
Well, we'll find out how good you're shooting tomorrow.
Bring it on, baby.
Yeah, right?
Well, I'll tell you about it.
All right. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to a new episode of the Rut to Root podcast. Sorry if that intro was a little loud. Let me turn these audios down here, John. We're really excited to have you guys in here today. I got John Shiner with me. If you listened to the last episode, me and Bryce had a pretty good conversation, talked a lot about our upcoming season, talked a little bit about my Kentucky hunt. So if you're tuning in to hear that, go back to, I think it's episode 8. Listen to that one if you're interested in my Kentucky trip. It's just been really hard. Everyone's super busy, John. It's been really hard to get everybody on the same page. Yeah, so we're for at least this round of podcasts, we're kind of splitting them up, and we're making it work, making sure everybody's kind of involved or whatever. So today, if you're sick of listening to Bryce, today you get to hear John. So, yeah,
I'm a lucky one.
Yeah, how's it going, John? I'm happy we could make this happen, man. For real.
Yeah, me too. No, everything's going good. Temperatures outside in the morning. I dropped my daughter off for school. I almost needed a sweatshirt this morning. It got me quite excited.
Yeah, it seemed
Getting the feeling in the air, man.
You know what I did today? I've got my basic bitch on today, and on my way to Tiffin for work, I got a pumpkin spice latte.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nice, man.
Wow.
I'm a big fan of the pumpkin spice lattes, but it's got to be that fall, sort of feel in the air. And that's how it felt this morning, man. So, yeah, it was getting my blood boiling. I'm pretty excited about it.
For sure. Yeah, no, everything's going good. If you're getting excited, I know last time we talked, I didn't have anxiety, but I knew that my bow was not where I needed it to be. We kind of teamed up and got together and did a little paper tuning, refletched the arrows.
Well, remind people, you got new strings, right?
I did, yeah. Early on in like April, I got them. And I shot my bow a little bit, but not enough to really see what was going on. And then when I got out and shot, yikes. Yeah. Way off. 8 inches at 20 yards. And then when I reached back, step it out to like 40 yards, you could see something was going on with the flight. The
flipping around that tail end.
They were swinging left and right, going down range. So a tune was, what the doctor ordered, and we did that, refletched it. I'm feeling good now. Feeling really good.
Yeah, fletched up some new arrows. I got a little paper tuning contraption. Me and John met and, put his arrows through paper. It took us a little bit to figure out what was going on. I don't know. We were going like both ways. Yeah.
Surprisingly, we made significant adjustments, more than I thought we would need. I think our major issue was the D loop was not in the appropriate position. But we got that addressed after, 40 arrows through paper.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, man, because I think a lot of hunters who just, they go get new strings and then they shoot their field points all year and then they slap a broadhead on and go hunting. And that's, good. It's not good. You know what I mean? How far were your broadheads shooting right or whatever? 6 inches, you said?
Oh, 6 to 8. Yeah. So, again, I guess I wasn't clear. The field points shot okay. But as soon as I threw my broadheads on, and I'm shooting the day 6 Evos on Victory TKO
So that's a
arrows.
big cut on contact, fixed blade broadhead.
Yeah, and then, oh my goodness, it was with just your eye, you could see the flight was way off.
Yeah.
When the field points, I could hit the target okay. You could see something was going on with the fletchings, but as soon as I threw that broadhead on, oh boy, was it exaggerated. So, but again, we got it dialed back in, kind of start from scratch, adjusted the D loop, moved the rest, did the whole deal. And let's see, on the last, we left the range, elevated platform, like 35 yards. Put it right in.
Oh, yeah, you did drill it, didn't you? Right there at the end.
Drilled it.
You dove.
Drilled it. That's how you walk off, man.
Yeah, walk off.
Yeah. Drop the mic and walk away, man.
Exactly. No, but that's a really good point, and I'm happy you bring that up, just for a lot of hunters. Like, if you haven't, if you guys are shooting, you haven't practiced with broadheads, it is so important to practice with the actual broadheads that you're shooting. Even if you're shooting, mechanicals, they tend to fly about the same as, field points, but some mechanicals, they do have little wings to them. Rages and stuff have little, wings kind of sticking out whenever they're flying down range. But like, especially putting on a big, fixed blade, single bevel broadhead like that, like, it's definitely, you're just putting wings on the front of it. And if it's not straight, yeah, you're just going to get crazy erratic flight. And those shots you were taking where you were 6 to 8 inches off, those are what, 20-yard shots?
20 yards.
Yeah. So imagine, imagine shooting at a deer at 30 or 35 yards. Like,
completely miss.
Yeah. You're going to hit him in the knee or something, So definitely very smart. I'm happy we got you straightened out and shooting straight and feeling comfortable. Yeah. We're going to shoot a 3D tournament tomorrow.
Yep.
So we'll see how that goes.
You
feeling confident?
Good. It's fun.
Feeling confident?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Super confident. Dude, it's good to get high quality reps in. Those 3D. They're, if you can't get one on your own, I know they're a little expensive, but you can get because I've got one, and it's just what do you call it? It had one of those defect, like a scratch and dent refrigerator. I got a Reinhardt deer, and it was, some of the foam was messed up on it, so I got it at a big discount. So what? I'm throwing arrows into it and destroying it anyways. So
I had one up until last year, and it kind of fell apart on me. But I'm a huge proponent of shooting at an actual deer target. I think that's super important. And a lot, if any of the listeners, if you're not into doing 3D shoots, or if you've never heard of it, you never done it, absolutely awesome way to get practice in, go have fun with your buddies. Just imagine golfing with bows and arrows. It's essentially what it is. And, this time of year, they tend to, you'll see all kinds of different crazy targets. Me and John, we were talking about this earlier, but you'll see elk and Bigfoot and turkeys and shooting armadillos and all kinds of stuff all summer. But this time of year, deer season's coming up. You'll start showing up to some of these shoots, and it's just 30 deer targets. So everybody's got the same thing in mind. Let's practice, tighten it up and get ready for deer season, So definitely a fun thing to do, but yeah. It gives you a little
great exercise. It does, yeah. But I think it's a good exercise to give yourself more scenarios. It's not always, you can get creative in your backyard or on your property or whatever, but to go somewhere new, different ranges, some of them are 17 yards and some of them are 27 yards. And some of them, they try to set it up, to make it fun. You shoot uphill on one, and then you shoot down, or you shoot down into a creek, or
you're shooting through grass.
There's a branch in the way.
Yeah. Yep.
But it just gives you different scenarios, and kind of locks you in.
I just always thought like the aspect of like, you know, I don't do it too much anymore, but I used to go with like a bunch of buddies, you know. So when you're up, you got 4 or 5 guys razzing you and watching you. So that's like simulated pressure of like,
Yeah.
shooting a deer. So, especially like I used to do actual tournaments. So you're like competing like for real, trying to win cash prizes and stuff. And that kind of pressure, I would always crumble and do terrible. So that's essentially, bleeds right into deer hunting. But yeah, it's good practice. So any of the listeners out there, if you guys have never done it, definitely give it a try. They're all over the place.
And it's easy. They're all over. Most of them are sportsmen's associations, and the people are super welcoming. Um, it's not that expensive, maybe between $5 and $20. Um,
Yeah,
but
they're
yeah,
cheap.
to walk through, and if you could shoot through the course and bury it, dead deer through the whole course, you're walking away feeling pretty good about yourself, confidence high,
Yeah,
which is, I
absolutely.
think, something you absolutely need to go into the season.
Absolutely, man. It's a good way to, build that confidence beforehand. But if you want, John, let's kind of like deer seasons, like we are going to shoot tomorrow. I'm excited about that, but like I kind of want to talk about like some deer hunting strategy stuff today.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, I know. We let's see. It's been a while since we talked. I know we tried to put something together and had some technical difficulties, but I actually made it, I made it out to the property a couple of times since our last podcast. And I'm excited. Walked around, found some oak trees dropping acorns, hung a bunch of extra cameras. I found a scrape, and this is 2 weeks ago. So, shoot, end of August. So I was, almost shocked when I saw it. But yeah, it was there.
That's
It was
early.
fresh.
Yeah.
Really early. Yeah, I was walking around surprised when I saw it. But yeah, it was there. Um, Food plots growing.
Now, well, let me
Um,
stop you real quick. Do you think that that's a scrape like that? I mean, where'd you find it? Was it like tight to cover? Was it like, in a
so
spot
it
where you
was
think a mature
within.
buck?
I honestly, I doubt it was a mature buck. Um, Maybe it
I don't know.
was.
I
That's
tend to
hard to
I tend
say.
to think stuff like that, like the earlier, you know, I'm looking at my cameras and a lot of bucks that are like 1 to 2 years old still have velvet on their racks right now. Where the bigger, more mature 3, 4 year olds have lost it and they're all hard horned. And I tend to think a lot of times the earliest sign that you find is a bigger buck usually, or a more mature buck, kind of laying the groundwork early because he knows what's coming maybe or something. But that could just be totally made up. I don't know.
I was just excited to see it. Um,
Pretty cool.
but yeah, I walked around, saw some promising things. Obviously a lot of deer sign. Um, but yeah, I know I got some. I guess I don't know how to put this without trying to be politically correct and not be a jerk, but um, I think my property out there, I share it with some people, and I feel like every year everybody wants to grow in numbers. So we've got another guy, brand new to the scene, going to be part of the whole group. It's fun, but it's frustrating at times. Everybody would like to have their own 500-acre tract that they solely get to hunt, but that just isn't the reality of most situations.
Yeah.
But I think going into this season, I need to stay patient, not get frustrated with others. and kind of pave my own way, you know. Just because it's going to be pressured, I got to keep telling myself it's pressured, but there's still bucks there that are worthwhile. They're shooters. They're always there. I'm just going to have to challenge myself to go the extra mile and kind of hunt outside of the box. And I think that's gonna pay off this year. I can't just do what everybody else is doing and what I've always done. I need to be a little bit more on my toes, look a little bit more at the details. And it should, you know, I'm putting in the work, so it should pay off.
And that's kind of what me and Bryce talked about yesterday too, was a couple points kind of that remind me of what you're talking about, is that I don't think, like you said, those big bucks, they're always there. And I really do think they're always there. Those bigger bucks, like, it takes a lot to kick them out of an area. You know, if they get onto you and they know they're being hunted or another hunter bumps them or whatever, sure, they might relocate a little bit, but they're not going to the next county. So hunting the hunters, right? Knowing where they like to go, where they like to hunt, where these other guys that you're competing with or whatever, for lack of a better term, are going, essentially will tell you where the deer are not going to be. And, you know, changing it up. And that's hard, John, because, you know, you've been hunting this property since, you know, you were a kid, right?
Since I was 12, yeah.
And we talked about that too. Like, I've been hunting a lot of my property since I was like 12 years old. So we come into every season with these biases about how to you know, informing our decisions that we're making based on bucks we saw or almost shot 10 years ago and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Where, you know, I know you're super excited about Across the Swamp because of all the success and whatever you had yet last year, but don't be afraid to, you know, and I'm guilty of this too. It's hard, but like just doing completely random things that, you know, that you have never done, or getting out or looking at the property in like a new light, you know what I mean? And
yes,
especially if you're going to have a new guy in there and changing stuff up, and he's going to have his spot and all that stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to hinder your ability to kill a deer. I think it's just going to test how, you know, well you can kind of adapt and, like you said, think outside
absolutely.
the box.
And, you know, big deer have got, you know, they've been shot in that area sporadically out of our, you know, neighborhood group, if you want to call it, square acres of everybody. So it's always been pressured, always. And you ask the guys that have shot really nice deer, you know, we're talking, you know, 140s and up. You know, tell me the story. What happened? And as you listen, you kind of put the dots together that, you know, not that they're not good hunters, but it always seems to happen. You know, the story is, well, you know, my regular spot, something was wrong with it, whatever. A strap broke on the step. So I just had to, I just walked around and found a brand new spot. And oh my gosh, he walked over the hill, you know, at 15 yards.
It's always the guy with the 5-gallon bucket walking out there, you know, so it's just sitting down somewhere random. Yeah.
Yeah. And it broke, you know, something broke his routine, and he went into a spot that probably nobody's walked into for whatever amount of time. And he plops his butt down, and Mr. Big walks over the hill, not expecting anybody to be there because he's patterned everybody else in their spots, or, you know, the highly pressured spots, the easy places to get to.
Yep. Well, that goes back to the first sit in a spot is going to be your best chance, right? So talking about that kind of brings us around to kind of what we were trying to talk about, is kind of what our plans are here coming up. You got this buck across the swamp hitting this bean field like daily, but we were talking earlier, he's kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts about that? So you had consistent photos of him all summer long. In the last week, he's just kind of disappeared. Are the beans still green? Have the beans started browning up, or
No, beans are still green. The does are still doing their thing. They're still out there. They're still walking the edge. Yeah, I get so conflicted, and it's like, we talk about this all summer, and the excitement and anticipation. I got to get out there. He's going to walk out, opening day. He has to, right? I've got pictures of him, for weeks and weeks walking out of this spot. And I have to kind of reel myself in. I lean on, you and some of my other hunting buddies, and, to kind of
yeah,
ground
we all
me.
got to have somebody to reel us in sometimes,
Yeah, like my buddy at work, I'm like, man, I got to get over there, prep my stand. This is like 2 weeks ago. I got to get over there. I'll sneak over there, maybe middle of the day, 12-1, trim out my tree. I know which tree I'm going to sit in, um, get my steps in, hang a platform, trim everything out, get it ready. So for opening day, I can just walk in and whoop, up the tree. And it was funny. He goes, "You're not honestly serious, are you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "No. What have you been talking about all summer? And you're going to go in and goof it up,
Stay out of there.
And I'm like, you know what? You're totally right. I'm too excited. I'm too, um, getting a little bit of tunnel vision. And it's funny, I call you and I'm like, same scenario. I'm like, I want to get over there and hang it. And you're like, absolutely not. What are you doing? And,
Yeah.
I'm appreciative for you guys. Cause dummy me being excited, wanting to get over there,
Well, I
no,
mean,
just stay out.
yeah, I think that's probably the best idea. But like, you didn't even go over there and he disappeared on you. So what do you think? Where is he at right now? You
True.
think?
True. I don't think he went far. I think he's within 1,000 yards.
You're not even getting pictures of him after dark.
No.
You don't think? You
No.
think those acorns you were talking about dropping may have pulled him off of that bean field?
So I bet you there's acorns. Well, I don't know that for sure, but I have a feeling he just switched to a different bedding spot. And I'm just, he could be that field is massive.
Huge, yeah.
And he
You're
could
right.
just, be bedding in a different spot, still hitting the same beans. And I'm just not getting the pictures. But I know when I hunted it last year, the does don't change their bedding. They've got a bedding area. They love it. They stay. They're routine. But, hunting it and also getting pictures, the bucks have different bedding areas for different winds. And he's not far. He's around. I just have to catch him. Honestly, I think that pre-rut time, dogging them does, checking them, I'm going to have my shot at him.
So is that
Because
your
I honestly
plan?
don't know where he's.
It's
That's
say
going to
it's
be my plan. Because
it's 78 degrees leading up to opening day. Temperature drop. It's 55 degrees Saturday morning, and it's going to be a high of 62. You got the wind you want. Where are you going, John?
Oh, buddy.
Where are you going?
I guess I'm going to ask you and my buddy from work.
I'll even give you this. You got, say, between now and then, you have, maybe a half a
picture here
dozen
and
more
there.
pictures of him on that bean field.
Yeah, I got to get out there. I got to be there,
so?
I think.
I would probably agree.
I got to be there.
I'd probably agree. Those cold fronts, those weather fronts are huge, and that's, especially this time of year. But now if it's like 75 degrees,
Or if it's consistently, 75 for like 10 straight days, and I'm on, it's going to stay that way for the following couple days, there ain't no way I'm going over there.
yeah.
But, contingency plans are kind of what we're talking about now. And I've been thinking about that the last couple of days, last couple of weeks. If I don't get that perfect weather, that perfect cold snap, and if the weather's, good enough, if it's not a heat wave, I'm not going to go out there during a heat wave. But if, the weather's okay and I'm getting pictures of just deer on their feet, I think I'm going to throw that pack out, my whole setup on my back. And I've got a big swamp that typically a lot of deer like to bed in the fringes of it. I think I'm just going to throw it on my back, walk in the wind, and kind of skirt that swamp and walk all the way around and look for rubs, buck sign. And if I see something, that's like, ooh, something's happening, I'm going to climb and hopefully catch something, in his comfort zone where he's bedding and catch him coming out.
Kind of sticking with that hunting on hot sign. That's my big goal this year, is to make sure, like, the majority of my hunts that I'm on, that I feel like I'm in the game. That was what I noticed when I was in Kentucky. Not to talk too much about Kentucky, but like a lot of those hunts, I just was like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like, this is kind of goofy. You know what I mean? So like my goal is hot sign or I'm scouting. I may not hunt as much as I want to, but when I do hunt, I'm going to be in a spot I want to be
good.
in.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, I agree. I think I was guilty of that last year as well, of sitting because a buck got shot here at some point in the last 5 years. It doesn't, more often than not, I've sat there and not,
Yeah, it's not going to work out 99.9% of the time.
And it's good to sit, it's fun to sit and, hunt, but to really maximize your time, you need to be in the game. And I think we both were guilty of that in years prior, of just sitting just to sit. And we got to kind of change it up to maximize our success.
Yeah, my plan is kind of, at this point, I don't really have a shooter buck on camera this summer. I got 6 or 7 cameras out, cell cams that send me pictures every other day, and I literally have not had a single buck that I'm like, that's a buck I want to shoot. So I'm not too worried though, because I've had plenty of years like this, and they just tend to show up right around October or something, and they stay through the rut or whatever on some of these properties. But I think if I don't have like the right conditions, the right weather, and I don't have a buck that I specifically like want to go after, I do have a couple properties that are like, I don't know what you would call them, like kind of throwaways or whatever. Like I'm not really worried about messing it up. If I have time to go hunt, I'm definitely going to go hunt, but I'm not going to go in after, into an area where I know bucks are going to be in at some point, or, you're just messing it up. So I do have like my go-to like doe killing farms, and that's kind of what I'm going to try to focus on more, killing my does early, getting meat in the freezer, and kind of holding out and waiting for that strategic like attack. October 5th or 6th, we get that cold front like we did a few years ago, and I shot this buck right here. That's what I'm looking for. Something like that. Get on acorns, walk in with the stand on my back, find hot sign, and hunt. So
yeah, no, I think that's a great strategy. I'm probably going to follow in suit. If I don't have the scenario where I'm feeling good about, shooting a nice big buck, and I've got the itch or I've got the free time. I know my time is limited, but I got to get out there, right?
Yeah, but if you're up at your cabin up there, you're up there, you might as well hunt. But if it's 75 degrees, like why go across the swamp and muck that all up? Just hunt. Over.
That's why I have my food plot
in your spots. Yeah,
that's what I put that work in. Because the does, no matter what weather, they will be there. They love it.
Yeah, good.
So
good.
And again, that's just kind of honing your skills. Shoot a doe early. Doe meat tastes pretty darn good too. And I don't know. I'm big on confidence and feeling good and doing your due diligence and being prepared. And that just, shooting a doe early just affirms all of your hard work. You put it right in the kill zone and you're like, okay, all the work I put in, I'm here. I'm ready. I'm good to go. And
that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
The confidence is soaring. And, every time the day I decide, okay, the weather is right. The wind is right. The sign is there and I'm going to hang and I am going for gold. I don't have any reservations in the back of my mind, hopefully I've shot a doe already.
Yep.
I've paper tuned my bow. I've practiced.
It just gets that monkey off your shoulder. It gets that monkey off your shoulder, man. It gets that that feeling like I haven't killed a deer in almost a year. Like I need to get some blood on my hands. I need to kill a deer. I need to get the rust off, and remember what this is like. I know that's what happened to me last year. I killed that doe. It was an opening weekend, but I think it was the second weekend, or it was like a Thursday night or something like that. And I remember because I hadn't killed a deer since I didn't kill a deer the entire winter. I killed that buck the year before in the fall, like November, but it had been like, a long time. Because usually I'll kill a deer in like January, February, so it doesn't seem as long. But I didn't do that this year. So like I remember shooting that doe and I was just like, holy crap, I forgot what this was like. Like that was crazy, So it's just a good, like, get your mind right and ready to go. Because I promise you, I don't care who you are. If the first deer that walks in front of you that season is a 165 12-pointer that you've been like, at least me, man. Yeah, I'm missing him or something. I'm gonna do something stupid.
Or I'm shaking out of my boots.
Yeah.
Or oh, did I shoot enough? Is it gonna land where I think it's gonna land? You're in your head too much. But yeah, no, I think that's early season plan, whack a doe. Again, just being patient and not getting too frustrated. Let the season happen. I still have one spot I need to knock on a door. My schedule hasn't allowed me to do it. It's been on, my never-ending list of to-dos. But I got to knock on another guy's door to get permission.
Let me just can I throw some advice out there, John? Let me just say this. I think you want it too much, man. Let me just say that. It will always elude you until like I hear people say this and there's some truth to it, man. And it sounds like, woozy, fugazi or whatever. How like, people who are like serious hardcore buck hunters took everything so seriously, all the analytics, all the data, and so specific about everything they did, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't until they kind of like just let go of a lot of that and just tried to start having fun with it, that they like actually started killing more deer or more big deer. And, I fear that sometimes like that happens to me. Like I get way too in my head and I'm making decisions and almost like shooting myself in the foot a lot of times too. You know what I mean? And the seasons that I have just been like, you know what? I really don't care what happens this year. I just want to have fun. I want to make some, good content and film some cool stuff. And like, if I shoot a deer, I shoot a deer. Those are the years that I've had like awesome years, because
Right.
you got like a clear mind and you're thinking more clearly or whatever. And
Right.
you said it earlier in the podcast how like you were like, I didn't have anxiety or anything. Like, man, deer hunting shouldn't give us anxiety. It
No,
should
it
just,
shouldn't.
yeah, like if we're getting that worked up about stuff, like, like we need to take a step back. And I'm definitely guilty of that, man. Like I get into spots, I take it so seriously and I get so tunnel vision, like you were talking about, that, you just start making bad decisions, and a couple bad decisions in your season can set you on a path that you never wanted to go down and kind of ruin your whole deer season. You know what I mean? So keeping it light, keeping it fun, but being smart at the same time. I
Sure.
think that's the
Still working hard.
yep,
That's not an excuse to get lazy.
yep.
Um,
Well, that's fun too. I like that stuff. So,
yeah.
but
But so yeah, that's plan A. Plan B, you know, um, we've gone down to Southern Ohio a couple of times. I really wouldn't take that off the schedule just yet. I think that's going to be a solid plan C, right?
I would
We're
love to
both
do
going to
that,
hunt
John.
our local farms, but I think we were talking about it earlier. If things just kind of get hectic, um, like I said, with this new guy being on my place, I don't know. I don't know him. I don't, if things get a little wild, I may let's just pack it up and go south, right?
Yep.
Hit some public up. I think that would be, like you just said, very fun.
Yep. I'd
Hunting
love that.
public is like, I've really enjoyed it because if something gets messed up at public, you're like, well, that's public, right?
Exactly.
It's nobody's spot there,
Yep.
it's everybody's. So if something gets messed up out there, it's whatever,
That's what,
there's always
not,
another ridge.
yeah, not to keep bringing up what me and Bryce talked about yesterday, but that was another topic we touched on, was that like, how there's like those two camps of like YouTube stars or whatever who are like, it seems like every YouTube show you watch, like there's all so aggressive in their tactics. Like we're going to get into the
Yeah.
bedding area. We're going to hunt the bedding area. And, me and Bryce were talking how like in our situations, like that's kind of a stupid way to hunt. I think, you only got 80 acres. Like why would you go ruin that if you got nowhere really else to hunt? But down there, public land, like when I was in Kentucky, like, yeah, man, like go for broke on every hunt. Get aggressive, get crazy with it. Yeah. But, on the 80 acres or up at your cabin or something like that, that's kind of a good way to, kick all the deer out of your property really quick and have a goofy, terrible season.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, if I can play my cards right at my place, the neighbors are going to do that. And, I want to reap the benefits.
Yeah.
I want to reap the benefits.
That's a good point.
But yeah, I know having plan C, go down south, give it a shot. I think that could be fun. And in all honesty, maybe a plan D. I wouldn't be opposed to, you talked about Kentucky, heading down there, giving that a shot.
That'd be fun too.
And, I've been doing a little desktop research I don't know that Pennsylvania public is out of the cards for
That's
me,
not
at
too
least.
far. Yeah, especially where your camp is, man. You ain't too far from it.
And there's a couple of chunks of public over there that, who knows what's there. I've never scouted it, but again, that could be fun to, if things aren't going right for me where I'm at, go get them, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea because a lot of times, and I, not to just keep talking about things that I do wrong every year, but I don't have enough properties to like hunt as much as I want throughout the whole year and not have a significant like negative impact on the deer herds and how they're moving through that property. So changing it up this year, like you're saying, maybe branching out to new areas, branching out to some public, branching out to Kentucky, some Southern Ohio stuff, and kind of, um, you know, letting your stuff relax, while the conditions aren't great. Say you got a weekend coming up and it's going to be 80 degrees in the middle of October, but the wife and kids are going to be out of town and you have, like you got time to go hunting. Like, well, let's not go blow up your good spot. Let's go drive down to Southern Ohio and, learn some new public and try some crazy stuff out, and see how we do down there,
Yeah, absolutely. Make it a learning experience. Maybe we'll
Exactly.
find a honey hole. It may not work out and we get one, but, if we can come away with some sort of info, I think that's a win.
Yep. That's why I said in my Kentucky trip, dude, I learned more in 5 days, I think, than I've learned in the last 3 years hunting the property. The properties that I've been on for the last 15, 20 years, like, unfortunately, you get in a thing, like I said, where we were talking about earlier, like, you kind of not stop learning, but it gets kind of stagnant and you stop looking to learn things because you're just expecting things to happen the same every year. And this rub line shows up here every year. But like going to a new place, going to a new chunk of public kind of forces you to like be a woodsman. You don't have cameras, you don't have any, you got to read sign. Like,
Yeah,
I forgot about that almost. You know what I mean? When's the last time you were,
it's true.
so it
It's
was,
true.
yeah, it's
And I
definitely,
think we learned that the hard way, I think, with this last turkey trip.
yeah,
That's a perfect example.
yeah, exactly. Hunted for 3 days, didn't see any turkeys, and then we're like, get covered up in birds the minute we find any turkey sign. It was like,
Yeah,
oh, wow, that's
wild.
goofy. Look how that works. But yeah, I'm pumped, man. I'm absolutely like just chomping at the bit. I know I'm checking my cameras like every morning at like 5 a.m. I wake up like, what's on my cameras tonight? Like hoping some kind of big buck shows up, It's bound to
Yeah.
happen at some point. But your buck, dude, that 8-pointer you got showing up, man, that's a big 8.
He would be, I would be tickled to death to
Like
put my hands on him.
like that's 135, 140 inch 8. That's a big 8-pointer, dude.
Yeah, you can just see, him, with other deer around him, and he's just so much more muscular and just staturely bigger than everybody else.
Well,
Not just his antlers, but you could just
what
see his maturity in his body
Oh
is
yeah, what
different.
I noticed in the photos you sent me was his belly sagging. He's got a big pot belly,
Yep.
which is characteristic of a 5-year-old plus deer. So that's, he's a big mature deer.
Yep. And you look at his front shoulders, and it's like, not comparing him to people, but you could see he's got like traps almost, like he's just
Yeah,
shoulders are big.
he's got like cow shoulders or something, man. And how a deer gets to 5 or 6 years old up there with all the
Oh
hunters
man.
you got around you, he's a warrior. That dude is. If you kill
Or
him,
he's a lucky son of a bitch.
I don't know, man. If you kill him, you got the magic, dude, because he's gonna be tough. That dude's smart.
Yeah,
You know,
he's going to be super challenging.
so like
And
if you're thinking about your property, not to change the subject, if you're thinking about your property and like where you've hunted, where you've gone, where you walk, where you get pictures of this buck, is there anywhere where like you've never been? Like, can you think of any spots that you've like literally never walked through?
so uh
See what I'm getting at?
yes, off camera, yes. Or I'm sorry, on camera, no. In real life, yes. Meaning the neighbors.
Oh, yeah. Like like what I'm
No,
trying to
I'm
get
just
at.
kidding. No, I think you're dead on. Like I said, that's why I wanted to knock on a couple extra doors to expand. Like I said, 80 acres in a corner of my property. But I guarantee you he's within 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
That could be the neighbors or the neighbor beyond that. So to branch out and get permission on some extra properties to get myself closer to where I think he's hiding would be beneficial. There still are places, and yes, in my mind, I have never put time into. I think some of the neighbors that share permission have stands in the general area, but I'm not convinced that they
Well,
are there enough. Are
what I'm
there
trying to
enough to blow them out? They might just be gun guys.
I got you.
And I gotta like I said, I gotta go a little farther, try a little harder.
Like what I'm getting
And
at, is there like an acre or a half an acre spot, like a specific location that like you've never ever walked into on your property because you're like, screw that, dude. It's like too thick, it's too wet. I'm not going over there.
yeah,
Like, are there
yeah.
locations
So
like that?
yes, and he very well could just hide there. It's in the swamp. It's where the stem count is, it looks impenetrable
That's what I was getting at. I know he's in
until
that
you
swamp,
get
dude.
like binoculars and look through all them little tight little stems, and you could see like a rub, like 40 yards in. You're like, nah, there ain't no way somebody can get their antlers through this. But somehow, some way, he's like behind the fortress wall of,
Solitude, yeah, dude. He's in there. I know he's in there.
I
And
know you believe it to death that he's like hidden in there.
I
And
know he is, and I've walked that property 20 times with you, and
yeah,
we always just walk around it. And there's that big beaver dam that John uses his big
yeah.
beaver dam to cross over to his, the other side of the swamp where he's trying to hunt this buck or whatever. But like that whole section, like it's just like braided streams kind of through there, right? And
So yeah,
and the beavers and
it's a
stuff.
fen. It's a fen. So it's a wetland, categorized as a wetland, but it's a fen, meaning water continuously flows through it. So it's always wet. And there's water moving.
But there's definitely dry spots in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because you can see even just crossing the beaver dam, there's tracks all over the beaver dam.
Yeah.
And there's portions of it where you can like sneak perpendicular to the beaver dam, or move it like a 45-degree angle away from the beaver dam. But like I said, the mud for a person to walk through it, you're going to go mud to the tippy top of muck boots. It's almost like a wader. You need waders to travel through it, but you don't really want to do that either, because you're scared that there's going to be a 5-foot
hole,
sinkhole that you're going to go to your armpits.
Yeah.
And half of it, you're going to go mud to your waist, and you're not going to get out. Like, it's
when
scary.
you get pictures of these deer, do they ever have like muck up to their knees or something?
up to their bellies. I've got
Oh,
pictures of deer with mud
dude,
to their
that
bellies.
big deer is living in there. That's where he's at. Guaranteed. And if I were you, John, I know you got acorn trees in mind that are butting right up next to that thing. Right up
Yep.
next to that. I guarantee you he's hitting that somewhere. That's where he's at. And that's why he's alive, because nobody goes in there. Nobody walks through that. Nobody will try to walk through that.
No, I don't even know that I'm going to. I mean, I may, but it's going to be. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Because I could just see, goofy me trying to get in there, and it's just treacherous. And then I go to mud to my waist, and you get like that claustrophobic feeling when you go down in the mud. But why? Now if I shoot him and he goes in there and I got a blood trail going in there, believe you me, nothing is going to stop me from going in there and getting him.
Yeah. Well, I'm not proposing that you go in there after him.
Yeah.
I'm just saying hunting the edges of that moving forward, I think, is, I think
that's the ticket.
Yeah. If you get a cold front, say if we get a cold front October 12th, at that point, the beans are probably browning up pretty good. You're probably not going to get a lot of deer out in those bean fields. The acorns are going to be dropping like crazy. You go in across the swamp, cold front, October 12th. I would, I don't know if you remember, but me and you hunted over there and we kind of walked the edge of that swamp for a long ways.
Yeah.
And we kicked up those deer or whatever at that far end. Like, I would just walk that whole edge until I find a big acorn tree dropping that has some kind of deer sign, or you find a big scrape, or you find a rub line coming out of that swamp. And, that's where I would hunt,
Yep.
But
I think you're right.
Now, if we get a crazy cold front opening weekend and those beans are still green and you still got does going out there and hitting those beans, I'd probably try that. Yeah.
No, it's interesting because I know I've hunted in different areas along that swamp, and I've watched a buck that's spooked, right, and he's going 100 miles an hour, fast as he can, and I've watched him cross. That swamp from one end to the other is maybe 150, 200 yards from bank to bank.
Yeah,
and I kid you not, he probably crossed that thing in 15, 20 seconds, just leaping, going down water up to his neck, swimming, grabbing some mud, and just flinging himself.
Jeez.
And, just flung himself across that swamp. And I was just amazed. He made a crazy amount of noise, but, things that seem impenetrable to us, they can do it.
Oh, yeah. It's nothing to them, man. But, yeah, man, I think I need to get a big buck on camera before I come up with any plans. I think the back 40.
That's okay.
Anybody who watches my YouTube channel, they know I hunt the back 40. The back 40, I've been hunting it for, I don't know, 5 years now. It's kind of mostly a big select cut. And I have a few like 3-year-olds on camera there right now, almost every day, but I don't know if I'd shoot them. But last year, John, you remember too, all the big deer that I was getting on camera, like come late October, November there. So my plan is to kind of
that super wide buck is just.
I would love him.
He would be so cool. He's not going to score great for you, but
no, really short.
Oh man, he is gnarly, man.
Yeah, but that one photo I have of him was in the daylight, but I think like 90% of the pictures I had of deer on that farm were at night, right?
Yeah.
So, it's not a big chunk of property. You cross this creek, it's kind of encompassed by a creek, and you cross that creek and you're talking 12 acres, maybe something like that. And you walk through there 3 or 4 times in the month of October. Like, think about what kind of impact you're having on the deer herd there. So, like, my plan for this year is to just kind of like not cross the creek until like that late October, early November timeframe, and hoping I might get more daylight activity out of bucks, because the thing that property has going for it is super thick, super high stem count, super good cover for like the rut late season. You'll get a ton of does held up in there in the middle of winter because it's so darn thick. So the bucks want to be there, but I think the does kind of tolerate the pressure I put on them there. But those mature bucks, they won't, right? They're going to go bed. There's a giant swamp. There's probably a 50-acre swamp that butts up next to the property I can hunt. That's like kind of impenetrable and private land. So a lot of them could be hanging out in there somewhere. But I think if I kind of stick to the outskirts, keep the pressure on this side of the creek, keep that little sanctuary, maybe I'll get some mature bucks to kind of like hang out there during the daylight more. And I've kind of noticed that already this summer in my cameras. So I put cell cameras out, lithium batteries, and I haven't gone back in there. Literally, it's like 50-50 daylight pictures to nighttime pictures with all these 2 and 3-year-old bucks I've been getting photos of. So I'm hoping that trend kind of continues, and you get a lot more daylight activity. I would feel like walking in there on October 25th, boy, you'd really have a lot of confidence. I'd have a ton of confidence,
Yes.
as opposed to hunting bucks, with pictures from, 10 o'clock at night or whatever,
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that's
no,
what
I
I'm
think that's
thinking.
a great plan.
Yeah.
I think that's a good plan. Not mess it up, because like you said, it's a good spot, but it's not a big spot.
Yes.
It's not vast. It's, you could get in there and mess it up, pretty easily.
Pretty easily,
So,
yeah. The smaller these places
I'll-
are, the easier it is to impact them, and mess them up. Hunting northeastern Ohio, I said this 1,000 times, 40 acres, 50 acres, 60 acres, like that's the type of parcels we're hunting. So it's,
don't worry, I got your back. When you get all crazy and wanting to go in there, I'll reel you in.
Yeah, I was gonna say I will. We'll see. I can sit here on this podcast and say this stuff, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how it really goes.
Yeah,
But
we'll lean on each other to, put the leash on each other and pull us back in, and
absolutely,
we'll keep talking on this podcast to kind of talk through those situations and feelings. And
yeah, I think this
I know
podcast,
everybody just,
it'll be
it's good
fun.
venting.
Yeah, when the season gets going and we got some stuff to talk about, and I saw this buck or that buck, I got this photo, like what do we think we should do? It'll be fun kind of walking through that stuff, I think. But
Absolutely.
John, we're at an hour right now. I guess let's just kind of end it with what is what's your goal this year? Like how many deer you want to kill, like what age class, a specific buck, like what's the what's the plan, the goal, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. I think the goal every year for me is to get at least 2 deer. I succeeded last year in doing that. So 2 to 3 deer this year. I think so. The goal this year, 3 deer, and really, idealistically, something to hang on the wall. I'm just not gonna settle for something that's gonna, be in the 120s, 130s. Like I said, I've been there, I've done that. For me, it's not what I want. I want something a little, score a little higher, a little older deer. I put all this effort in and we keep talking about it. I'd like to reap the fruits of my labor, you know. So 2 big does, and a buck to be proud of, for myself. That would be the way to go for sure.
Well, I
It would
wish
be
you luck,
nice.
man. I think you're going to do it this year for sure. You're due, man.
Yeah,
You're due. It's going to
I've
happen.
had these same goals. I think it's the year 3 now where I haven't taken a buck. I just let them pass. Like I said, this goal is yearly, and if it's not, if the buck isn't what I want it to be, I'm not settling. I'll just shoot an extra doe and be happy. It's just, that's what I want. So I'm not going to settle. I'm going to
Very
be
good,
disciplined, and it's just, I will sleep great at night. Yeah, I'll get frustrated and worked up every now and again. But that's my story and I'm sticking to it, right?
if you're gonna have a goal, if you're gonna hold out for a certain age class or a certain size buck, you gotta be cool with eating tag soup, man. You just gotta be cool with like, it just didn't happen for me this year, But I'd say my goal is I want a 4-year-old. I'm an age guy over like an inches of antler guy. I want a 4-year-old in Ohio, and I want like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old in Kentucky. I would like to kill 2 bucks this year in each state, or 1 per state, I guess, and then take a couple does in early season here in Ohio, and then when it starts snowing, I'm done, man. Sit on the couch. We'll see how that works out. Yeah. No, I get into that late season stuff, man. I like hunting late season. It's just tough around here, man. It's tough. You know how it is.
It's fun, man. It's cool. Late season is very cool. It is extremely challenging. I know, you can look back and be proud. I know I've had a couple of days where I went out and it was probably not the best decision, but I did it anyways. I know we sat that one late season and I think we walked out and got in the trucks and it was like 12 degrees.
Brutal, yeah.
Woo-wee. But we could look back and be proud that we sat in, wind chill 10 degrees, whatever.
Yeah, man.
And got tough and we were ready.
I need to get one of them puffy jackets like you keep talking about. I need to get me one of them. Yeah.
You need one. Yeah. Whether it's down or
synthetic or.
Yeah. But that mid layer to get, it's a little poofy, but boy, it's a proper insulator for sure.
Yeah. I need to get me one. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I hope we all score big this year and, all our dreams come true. I guess I'm pumped, but staying, I guess the moral of the podcast is just stay, disciplined, hunt smart, not hard. Right. So like,
yeah,
make sure we're making good decisions going in and have calculated strikes at deer that we want to kill. And I think we'll be all right, and the times that it's not going to work out, let's go have fun. Let's go learn some new properties. Let's go kill some does somewhere else. You know what I mean? But
definitely we've got contingencies, so let's use them. we're not pot committed on one spot.
Exactly. But well, you got anything else you want to talk
I'm
about
just
here?
excited. I'm just excited and kind of riding this high. It's going to be awesome. I'm counting down the days. I'm thinking about it all day. When it gets here, it's going to be exciting. I'm excited for the first call for one of us to be like, "Hey, what are you doing?
Hey,
can you drive out here?"
Yeah, exactly. I just smoked him. I just dropped him. Oh, I can't wait, man.
Oh my God, that's going to be special.
But all right, man. Well, I'm happy we were able to do this, and thank you guys for joining in. John, tomorrow we'll keep score and loser buys lunch. How's that?
That'll work.
All right, man. Yeah, thank you guys again for joining and listening. Really appreciate all the support we've gotten and all the views and the comments on YouTube and everywhere else. So, like, seriously, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. You guys are the reason that we sit down and do this and deal with all this computer technical crap all the time. It's such a pain in the butt, but we love it. We love the interaction. We love sitting down and putting our thoughts on record or whatever. So thank you for tuning into that. If you guys have anything specific or questions or ideas for us to talk about, a really good place to get a hold of me is on our YouTube channel, Buckeye Bowhunter. Watch a video, leave a comment, or on my Instagram, Buckeye Bowhunter. So, again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next one.